My name is Raghav and I want to talk about Furiosa. Furiosa is a 2024 Australian post-apocalyptic action film directed and produced by George Miller. It's the fifth installment in the Mad Max franchise, serving as a prequel and spin-off to 2015's Mad Max Fury Road, focusing on the character Imperator Furiosa, originally portrayed by Charlize Theron in the 2015 movie. In Fury Road, we are in a desert wasteland where warlords fight over the last remaining resources of water, food, weapons, gasoline, etc. Furiosa is working for Immortan Joe, driving a war rig to trade produce for weapons and fuel. This is just a cover, however. Her true motive is actually to help the women that are held captive in the Citadel to escape with her to her childhood home, an isolated oasis sheltered from this post-apocalyptic war. Set 15 to 20 years before the events of Fury Road, Furiosa traces the young title character's life from her kidnapping by the forces of the warlord Dementus, who is played by Chris Hemsworth, to her revenge on the warlord for the loss of her mother. For over a decade, she struggles to survive as a captive, slave, and eventually a trusted lieutenant of the Citadel's cult leader, Immortan Joe. Director George Miller initially intended to shoot Furiosa back-to-back with Fury Road, but both films spent several years in developmental hell amidst disputes with Warner Brothers. Developmental hell is industry jargon for a project, concept, or idea that remains in a stage of early development for a long time because of legal, technical, or artistic challenges. Projects in developmental hell normally have ambitious goals, which may or may not be underestimated in the design phase, and they're delayed in an attempt to meet these goals to a high degree, a lot of times because of studio pushback. Alien vs. Predator, Alita Battle Angel, Avatar 2, Barbie, these are all examples of films that have lived in developmental hell for some amount of time. The movie stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Alyla Browne as younger versions of Furiosa. Now, we all know that Anya Taylor-Joy is a good actress. I've been singing her praises since I first saw her in The Witch all those years ago, and she looks cool in the Mad Max outfits and stuff. She's got the poise and her training has clearly paid off. She pulls off the stunts and the physical work with flair and strides through the movie with purpose. She even kind of sounds like Charlize Theron near the end of the movie, which for a second I thought was an overdub by the original Furiosa, and that could actually be the case. Not really sure. The real star of the film, however, is the even younger Alyla Browne, who looks super cool in the costume and hair and brings an intensity to her performance that is fitting for a young girl thrust into strenuous circumstances. She's really great and pretty much carries the first half of the movie on her shoulders. Chris Hemsworth plays a ridiculous cartoon character of a villain called Dementus. He's dumb, just like so much of the dumb stuff in the movie. It's not much to write home about. Hemsworth is just trying to have fun in the role, but the character is a bit half-baked, as is pretty much everyone who isn't Furiosa, who actually has the benefit of a whole other movie setting up her character. She gets a sort of love interest played by Tom Burke, who I really enjoyed in the BBC Strike series. He doesn't really do much in this movie. Kind of a hilariously gender-bent version of the pretty love interest character we always see in these action movies, where in action movies that feature male protagonists, you get this kind of generic good-looking woman who doesn't speak much and is there to just support our hero. He kind of has the same role. Not much depth, except that he wants to help Furiosa and he's supposedly good at his job, but he doesn't do anything too impressive, certainly nothing to get Furiosa's attention, who's already more impressive than he is. If you saw my Planet of the Apes review, you'll remember that I had a gripe with the trailer of this movie and mainly the use of unfinished VFX in movie trailers. I don't like that studios are so hell-bent on releasing trailers early that the movie is not finished and we get to see some shoddy looking VFX, which, sets us up with shitty expectations for what would otherwise be a pretty solid movie. A lot of the look of the film is a lot stronger than the 2D janky ass effects we saw in the trailer. Although it does falter occasionally, the movie makes up for it with inventive visuals, classic cinematic shots, and a general all-round epicness and some really well choreographed action sequences. There's a great scene where there's a skull in the foreground in this beautiful desert and a bike just rams through it, shattering it. It's beautiful. I love it. The opening sequence with Furiosa's mom is really cool. There are some great dynamic shots right up top which are super gripping and get you invested in the story ASAP. Here's my pitch. The next film should be another prequel, this time about Furiosa's mom. I mean, why not? Everybody keeps making sequels and furthering the story. We're gonna go backwards, baby. How about that? The story itself has a bit of a mythic quality, so it's told more as if it were hearsay rather than a planned out with a satisfying beginning, middle, and end. It's an interesting conceit, to be sure. The story is mapped into chapters, with each chapter basically a different episode in Furiosa's journey. The only problem is the movie's length. The story just isn't able to justify its 2-hour, 40-minute runtime, even with all that cool action. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad movie, it's just a little bit self-indulgent. It focuses on character primarily, which is a good thing, but there is scope for trimming. The film sometimes just seemingly loses the plot, just turning into a meandery, rambly sequence of events. This could be justified because of the legend lore storytelling plot device and the idea that these are stories being told around a campfire, so they're not tightly edited, which I'm fine with, except that I did find myself wanting the story to move along at times. It is a movie after all. I've heard Fury Road and Furiosa be compared to Kill Bill 1 and 2, where Fury Road is a hyper-violent, unrelenting action fest, while Furiosa is the slow burn, more thoughtful follow-up which focuses on dialogue and world building. And while the world building is fantastic, I feel the dialogue would need a lot more work to really justify that comparison. That aside, Furiosa is a woman of few words, and a lot of the emotion of the film comes from her strong, silent stoicism from both actresses. The segregation of the story into chapters makes for interesting breaks in the story that would probably work great for rewatching at home, taking your time with each chapter and really enjoying the visuals of the world. I feel like The Legend of Furiosa would have been a more appropriate title than A Mad Max Saga, because the stories feel like verbal narratives passed down from one person to another, so legend feels right, you know? But I understand that the studio probably pushed that they need to put the Mad Max branding in there somewhere, because God forbid someone saw George Miller's name and confused Furiosa for a sequel to Babe Pig in the City. Although a movie about a cute pig wreaking havoc in a Mad Maxian world is a movie I would totally watch. Wow, that is the second Babe reference that I've done in a review. I guess I'm starting like a Babe cinematic universe here. Or more like cinematic review-universe. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna go now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this movie review, please consider subscribing to my channel and leave a comment letting me know which movie you think I should check out next. Also, if you are a fan of my work, check out some of my other videos, including my animated D&D show, which I work really hard on and is fully animated. And if you are looking for ways to support me, please check out my Patreon. There is a lot of bonus content on there and new shows that are exclusive just to the Patreon that are coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.